When you think about computer processors today, two names dominate: Intel and AMD. For decades, Intel was the household name, the tech giant everyone trusted, while AMD was often seen as the scrappy little brother, the underdog trying to keep up. But the truth is far more fascinating. AMD's story is one of a rebellion, bold risks, lawsuits, crushing defeats, and stunning comebacks. It's the story of a company that started in the shadows and eventually rose to challenge one of the most powerful tech corporations in the world. This is the story of AMD, advanced micro devices, and how it went from survival mode to giant slayer. AMD was born in 1969 in Sunnyvale, California. It was founded by Jerry Sanders, a charismatic salesman with a taste for flash suits, and a group of engineers who had left Fairchild Semiconductor, one of Silicon Valley's first great tech companies. From the very beginning, Sanders believed in two things. First, that great engineering could change the world, and second, that you had to market with passion. He famously said, "Real men have fabs," meaning a true chip company needed its own factories to manufacture chips, not just designs. In the early days, AMD didn't design cutting-edge processors. Instead, they made logic chips and memory. But soon, they became what's called a second source for Intel. Back in the 1970s, big customers like IBM didn't want to rely on just one supplier for critical components, so Intel had to license some of its designs to other companies, and AMD was one of them. This meant AMD got to manufacture clones of Intel processors. It was a great deal for a small company: steady revenue, access to new technology, and a way to build credibility in the market. But this partnership would eventually set the stage for one of the most intense rivalries in the tech history. As personal computers exploded in popularity in the 1980s, Intel rose to power with its x86 processors. AMD, still in the second source business, benefited from this wave, but as Intel grew, it wanted to protect its dominance and stop sharing designs. That's when the lawsuits began. AMD argued that its licensing agreement gave it the right to keep producing x86 chips. Intel, of course, disagreed. For years, the two companies fought in the courtrooms and on store shelves. Meanwhile, AMD was learning how to stand on its own. By the 1990s, they were no longer content to just make copies of Intel processors. They wanted to compete head-to-head with their own designs. In 1991, AMD launched the AM386, a chip compatible with Intel's 386 processor, but at a lower price. It was a hit, especially with budget-conscious PC builders. Then came the AM486, which performed just as well as Intel chips, sometimes even better. But the real breakthrough came in 1999 with the Athlon processor. The Athlon was the first x86 chip to break the 1 GHz barrier, a huge marketing milestone. Intel was embarrassed. For the first time, AMD wasn't just the cheap alternative, it was leading the pack. The rivalry was officially on. At the turn of the millennium, AMD entered its gold era. The Athlon 64, released in 2003, was a game changer. It brought 64-bit computing to mainstream PCs, while Intel was still pushing 32-bit. It also had an integrated memory controller, which boosted performance dramatically and support for multiple cores. For gamers and tech enthusiasts, AMD became the chip to beat. Many remember the glory days of the early 2000s, when building a gaming PC with Athlon 64 meant you had cutting-edge performance at a better price than Intel. AMD's reputation soared. They won contracts with big companies, and their Opteron server processors started eating into Intel's dominance in data centers. For a brief moment, AMD was ahead, not just in value, but in raw performance. But behind the scenes, trouble was brewing. Success had given AMD confidence, maybe even overconfidence. In 2006, they made a bold and risky move that would nearly destroy the company. AMD decided to buy ATI Technologies, a Canadian company known for its graphic cards. The idea was brilliant: combine CPUs and GPUs into a single chip. Today, that's called an APU, and it's everywhere, from laptops to game consoles. But in 2006, the timing couldn't have been worse. AMD paid over $5 billion for ATI right before the global financial crisis hit. The debt was crushing. At that time, Intel was fighting back hard. Its new Core 2 Duo processors crushed AMD's offerings in performance and efficiency. AMD's chips were slower, hotter, and less attractive to both gamers and businesses. For nearly a decade, AMD struggled. Their market share dropped. Their products were mocked. Tech reviewers investors often told people to buy Intel unless they were on an extreme budget. Some people thought AMD wouldn't survive at all, but even in those dark days, AMD found ways to hang on. They supplied chips for the Xbox and PlayStation consoles, giving them steady revenue, and quietly, behind the scenes, their engineers were working on a new architecture that would turn everything around. After years of disappointment, 2017 was the year of redemption. AMD launched its new Ryzen processors based on the Zen architecture, and suddenly the industry was shocked. Ryzen offered stronger performance, more cores, and competitive prices. For the first time in years, AMD could go toe-to-toe with Intel in both gaming and productivity. Gamers loved the extra cores for streaming, creators loved the value for video editing and 3D rendering, and budget-conscious buyers loved that they could finally get great performance without paying Intel prices. Intel, which had been comfortable and maybe even complacent, was caught off guard. For years, they had been selling quad-core chips at high prices. Now, AMD was offering 6, 8, even 12 cores at similar or lower costs. The competition sparked a new wave of innovation. Intel scrambled to respond, while AMD kept pushing forward with Zen 2, Zen 3, and now Zen 4. Each generation brought higher performance, better efficiency, and more respect from the industry. But AMD's success didn't stop with desktop PCs. Their EPYC processors started winning contracts in data centers, powering the servers that run the internet and cloud computing. The Radeon Graphics division continued to challenge NVIDIA, and their semi-custom chips kept powering PlayStation and Xbox consoles. From nearly bankrupt to a global leader, AMD had pulled off one of the greatest comebacks in tech history. Today, AMD stands as a proof that underdogs can rise again. From making licensed clones of Intel chips in the 1970s to nearly collapsing under debt in the 2000s to now powering everything from gaming rigs to supercomputers, AMD's journey is one of resilience, innovation, and bold risks. The rivalry with Intel is still alive, and now NVIDIA has joined the fight, especially in the world of AI. But one thing is certain, AMD is no longer the little brother struggling to keep up. It's a giant in its own right. So what do you think? Is AMD finally on the top, or is this just another chapter in a rivalry that will keep going for decades? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you watched this video until the end, please like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot to keep doing these incredible contents for you. Thank you so much for watching, and see you on the next video.